Welcome to the Fourth Down Experience, the podcast devoted to special teams. Your host of the Fourth Down Experience, former pro free agent, 9-year professional kicking coach out of the Midwest, Coach Chris Hughesby. Alongside Coach Chris Hughesby is a former 2-time Arena Bowl champ, 9-year pro kicking coach, repping the South, Coach Brian Jackson.
Hey, what's up, 40 Nation? Hope you're doing well. We are just past the 1-year mark, and we appreciate all the support so far. One thing that we decided to do in Season 2 is change up our format just slightly. In the past, if you started with us from Season 1, you'll notice that our podcast interviews and podcast segments are a little longer. We had a beginning, an interview, and an end point. And this time in Season 2, we decided to break it up a little bit. So what we're going to do now that the seasons are coming to an end for high school and college athletes, is do our industry advice segments, all right? And we're going to be launching industry advice segments throughout the different weeks. So what we want to talk about today is, now that the high school season has ended, what do we do now? So, Brian, let's start with that topic.
Yeah, guys, this would be like just real short, sweet, and quick. 5-6 minute podcast here, just trying to help you out. And I think one of the biggest questions we get as kicking coaches on the kicking side of things when the season ends is, hey coach, I kicked with a 1-inch tee during the season. I'm a sophomore in high school. What should I transition to right now? Should I be going off to the ground? Should I go off to the half-inch tee? Or, hey coach, I'm a junior, going to be a senior next year, going to go to a bunch of college camps this summer. I was off the half-inch tee during the season. Should I go straight to the ground? This is the question that we're going to kind of cover here. So, Chris, how important do you think this topic is in the kicking world?
Well, I think it's very important because, kids sometimes use tees in their season, either 1 by choice or 2 by force, because their head coach thinks that having a tee is essential for their holder. But now that season is done, if you're a senior, now you got to start transitioning to be college ready. And sometimes a question that we get from college coaches that contact us at different levels, Division 1, 2, 3, Power 5, NAIA, JUCO, a lot of times they ask us, can he kick off the ground? And, we don't necessarily want to rush you to the ground, but we got to start transitioning to the ground. So if you were a 1-inch guy or a 2-inch guy, maybe for 2 or 3 weeks you do a half-inch for a little bit, just so that transition kind of leads into the ground. But it also kind of depends on what your goals are. There's a lot of winter showcase camps or a lot of winter kicking camps out there where you have to prove yourself to be evaluated. So it just sort of depends on what your plans are and how quickly we need to get to the ground for that purpose. But I like the transition aspect of maybe hitting a half-inch and then going to the ground. How about you, Brian?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Chris. A lot of good, valuable information there. One thing that I tell kickers that I train with down here in the South is your body will let you know when it's time to transition. So, like when I've had guys off the half-inch tee, for example, when their ball starts getting really, really high, almost like too high, or if they're starting to get under it really bad, and maybe getting a little bit of ground, those are kind of 2 signals or 2 hints on saying, like, hey, maybe it's time to try to kick off the ground. Now, if you try transition from like a 1-inch tee straight to the ground and you start seeing low trajectory, you can't get all down in the dumps because that's tough on your hips and your body movements. Your body's not used to that. Your body's kicking off, used to kicking 1 inch off the ground, with the kickoff tee and the field goal tee. So you have to also understand to not get frustrated and to be patient. I kicked in high school from 2000, 2003, and it took me a solid 2 months to transition to the ground. And we didn't have half-inch tees back then. So, you can imagine how frustrating that is for 2 months before seeing a ball hitting the height that you're used to seeing off a 1-inch tee. And these days, guys are transitioning in 2 or 3 weeks. And you can't compare yourself to other guys. Some guys are tall and lanky, and they have that lever and they can get under it. Some guys can have a little bit of a hybrid wedge foot style, and their groin won't mess up. So, everyone's a little different, and I'm not advocating for that necessarily. I like to roll my ankle over and flex my foot and activate the quad. But sometimes you have to kind of open up your foot just a hair to get a little more height. So, again, I think if you're starting to kick a higher ball than normal and you go through growth spurts, then your body's kind of telling you, like, hey, I'm ready to kick off the ground now. I don't think it's smart to go from 1 inch to the ground. I think it's smart to utilize that half inch. And as far as this coming up summer, you want to show your best in front of the coaches. So if you rush it and you're not kicking a high ball off the ground, you're better off kicking off the half-inch tee and showing good height and then showing really good distance and hang on your kickoffs. That way a coach knows, okay, he's off that half-inch. I'd like to be able to see, the next time I see him, see a transition to the ground. That's my tip.
Yeah, I completely agree. And to not date me a little bit here, when I transitioned from high school to college, I went from 2 inch to the ground. It probably took me all 3 months of the summer to transition, and I don't even think that I really felt confident rolling into fall camp either as a kicker. But the transition thing is perfect. Sometimes you guys will see on social media guys that are just crushing it, and they were on a tee. Well, there's probably a good chance maybe the previous summer they started doing a little bit of groundwork, so they eased into it. So even our younger listeners, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, you could dabble a little bit with the ground just to see how you do, and if you transition well, maybe you go into those college kicking camps doing the ground for that segment. But we always like to use the term calibrate. I mean, you got to recalibrate your swing a little bit, moving from a 2 inch to a 1 inch to a half inch in the ground. And it doesn't hurt to go back to no steps or field goal passes or 1 step kicks. All those little things will help you recalibrate. So, all right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed our industry advice. Brian and I are here to give back to the community. However, if you are interested in getting some extra help from us, Brian and I do virtual lessons, and we also run camps together and separately. So if you do like to reach out to us about help on your kicking, punting, or long snapping, reach out to Team Jackson Kicking on Instagram and Twitter, or Special Teams Football or Special Teams FB on Instagram and Twitter as well. So, guys, thank you for joining us on this segment of Industry Advice, and we'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
Hey, what's up, 4D Nation? This podcast has been brought to you by NKR, the National Kicking Rankings platform. It's the new and innovative national evaluation and rankings platform for kickers, punters, and snappers. Launched in 2017, this camp offers you a great balance of athletic evaluation and instruction. You'll get honest feedback and rankings, exposure to college coaches, but this camp is brought to you by credible coaches with experience that will deliver a high quality and detailed instruction to you. NKR offers an active social media platform that will give you proper exposure to all the collegiate outlets. This camp was developed by Brian Jackson, Chris Hughesby, and Tom Feely using a proven camp format from the last 7 to 8 years that specialists have come to love. Many of the specialists have received opportunities to play at all collegiate levels, including Power 5 conferences. If you'd like to attend an upcoming camp this offseason, visit www.nationalkickingrankings.com and check out the camps page. Or follow us on social media on Twitter at NKR_camps. That's NKR_camps. Or on Instagram at National Kicking Rankings to learn more about us and follow our growth. Come see what all the hype is all about and check out nationalkickingrankings.com.
Thank you for listening to the Fourth Down Experience. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fourth Down Experience.